Peace. Yo, yo. All right, so part two. Let's talk about the other side, the real side of relationships, real relationships. Right? So Soul Rising in stores, beautiful double disc album with myself, about 21 other artists, plenty of sisters on there singing, spoken word, people rapping, doing their thing. It's in all streaming platforms, or you can hit the link in the description. Go to samuraiblackmusic.com. You can grab the vinyl. You can grab some merch, and it also has all the streaming links on there. So when we talk about the last live, I was talking about the relationships that aren't really real. Some of them were elementary in nature, literally, and some of them, you know, were in my adulthood, and they're just kind of those things that was like a fire that burns and glows very brightly and fizzles out fast because it doesn't have the fuel. That fuel being feeding into someone's narcissism, because I don't do that. But let's talk about the other side, right? The right side, the real side. When I think of a real relationship I had, like a real friendship, a real brotherhood, I mean, obviously I have my own physical brother, but even aside from that, there's several other people that I would call brothers these days. But I think one of the examples for this, like when I was like really isolated and kind of alone, I didn't really have anybody to confide in or rely on, or, you know, etc. Maybe like a couple people. But as far as like brotherhood, I didn't really have it. So let's just say 2017, I may or may not have gotten set up by a police officer and found myself on probation, and then later on incarcerated because I was set up by someone else. And, you know, did a brief stint in the pen, theoretically, hypothetically. When I was in jail, hypothetically, I kept to myself mostly. And there, you know, there's a couple people who would come up and talk to me and stuff like that because they could see that I wasn't a bitch, but on the same token, they could see that I was generally good-natured. I was just kind of focusing on myself, focusing on doing yoga, working out, meditating, all these kind of things. So here, we have, okay, there's the standard like pods, right, that they put all the inmate or a good bulk of the inmates in, that's inside the building. And then they have what's called the tents. And these are like these structures outside, and they're kind of built like pill shaped to where the CEO's desk is in the center, and they have a left side and a right side. So it's the east side and the west side, based on how it was structured there. And this is where the people who they're putting to work are. So after some days, I don't know, a week and change, I get moved to the tents because they're looking to try to place me on a work assignment. Now, spoiler alert, I had a condition to where they couldn't really place me on a work assignment, so just became a house man. So for the most part, I got left alone. But when I first came in there, saw a familiar face right next to my bunk. There was this brother that he was actually one of my employees. He was on my team when I used to work corporate. And he goes by musically and other ways on the streets, goes by Skilo. This is one of my best friends. Now, when Skilo saw me in here, the last time he had seen me, it was when we were working corporate and I was his boss. So naturally, his first question was, what the fuck are you doing in here? You could just swipe off. It's all good. So, so he's like, what the fuck are you doing in here? And, you know, I just showed him my wristband and I was like, yeah, you know, I got caught with this and that, blah, blah, blah. They made it up as bullshit. But, you know, I didn't have a bond. I wasn't able to get in contact with my lawyer because they were in the middle of a trial. I was kind of like thrown in there in limbo. And the perception that I had, because I wasn't able to get in contact with anybody, was that it might try to have me sit in there for like two to 5 years for bullshit. So naturally, I'm just gonna keep working on myself. I'm gonna keep building myself. I'm not gonna eat the garbage food. You know, find myself fasting and find myself, you know, doing more yoga and meditation and practicing martial arts from memory, really, because some of the things that I was practicing in there I hadn't done in years. But shit, I didn't have nothing but time, and so him, and you know, a couple other people, they started practicing these things with me. So we would meditate together. I was just kind of on the cusp of creating this persona called Samurai Black. I actually created it while I was in there. And, you know, obviously I'd already been rapping and releasing music and all that stuff, but I was just on the cusp of kind of like this big change that led to me being the artist that I am now. And while he was in there, he happened to have discovered his voice as well. He had always been a fan of music, but he had never created it. And this melody would give you chills, melodies and vocals and like stories embedded in his songs I had ever heard before. Like, it was fucking incredible. He single-handedly encouraged me on a regular basis. This sidewalk's fucked up. Encouraged me on a regular basis, put more melody into my songs. Because, you know, we would have these little exercises where, you know, we would imagine kind of like a tempo, might beat on the desk and come up with a beat and say, all right, we're gonna go ahead and write a song on this. And I would come back 10 minutes later and I'm like, all right, I'm done. Here's my 16. And he was like, bro, no, like, okay, we get it. You can rap. We get it. You can do that all day. Put some more effort into it, bro. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. Put something else into it. Go do something else with it, right? So this kind of challenged me to sharpen my pen even further, but also kind of showed me how to pull more out of myself and put it into my music, which is what I do today. If you don't want to, I can't force you to. It's all good. So anyway, from this to, you know, certain circumstances where it was being engineered in there for people to blow their lids, they can get thrown into the box, all these kind of things. We would look out for each other. Shit, if one of us ran out of fucking toilet paper before the next round of coming around, we'll pass the roll to the other. You know, like, whatever. It was just a pure brotherhood. We didn't expect anything. If one of us, now, for those who've never been and hopefully never go to be incarcerated in a jail or prison, much of the currency is based off of food. So ramen noodle packs are basically considered about $1. And there's other values attached to other things that can be bought on commissary. I would find ways by, you know, maybe writing a song for someone, for their girlfriend, or, you know, whatever. I would find ways to make quote unquote money in there. So I would have ramen noodle packs stacked up in my box. And if they didn't have any, and I'm about to eat mine, I'm gonna pass Skilo one and our other brother one. This was brotherhood, because he would do exactly the same for me. There are certain times where I might have been on the verge of blowing my stack, and he was the hand on my shoulder that told me to chill, like I said in the song Almighty on Soul Rising album. But there's sometimes I was that for him as well. And there's a lot of development that occurred in there. It was kind of something that, like, they didn't, if you're the person who's like overseeing a prison, you're not going to expect people to actually come out of there rehabilitated. That's not really part of the program. That's not what's wanted or expected or any of that shit. But we did. We came out better men. We came out more level. At least I know for sure I did. And a lot of the stuff that he had done that got him in that situation, he renounced it after that. He stopped dealing with it, all based off conversations that we had in there. Now, I could talk about this frankly and freely because I was released maybe about a month after meeting up with him in there. He was released maybe a month after that. And then about a year later, he mysteriously overdosed. He was killed. But up until that point, he was making massive changes to his life. He was reconnected with his family. He was really trying to structure his approach and how he was going to go about creating his music. You know, all these kind of things. There's a lot of things that he was doing before that, like I said, he renounced. And this was based off the weight of the real relationship that me and him had built. Me, him, and, you know, another brother or two in there had built. We really created plans in there to come out and do things with this music that I'm still living out to this day. This was 7, almost 8 years ago, right? And even in that interim, you know, after we had both been released and, you know, before he had passed, you know, I would come hang out and kick it with him at the house that he was renting. And, you know, we would sit in jail and talk about animes and stuff like that and put each other on different things that we wanted to watch when we got out. So when we got out, we would sit and we would watch some of those shows. Or, you know, we would talk music. I would share some of my latest songs on my 2021 album, Shinumare, or 2020, one of those years. But he had passed in that time frame. But nonetheless, like, this was someone that actually built a real connection with, a real relationship with. I really considered him, and still do to this day, my brother. I still keep in touch with his family. You know, if it's not creating a real lasting positive impact on your life, then I'm gonna repeat that. Oi, if it's not creating a real positive impact on your life, a real lasting positive impact on your life, chances are you really need to assess whether or not this connection that you have with someone is actually a real relationship. Because if it's not exhibiting those signs, if you're not getting better from your conversations with them, if you're not, you know, becoming more centered from, you know, sharing experiences with them, etc., then chances are that's not real. It's not a real thing. I've never been the type to, like, just kick it around the homies and just chill and just smoke, even when I was smoking. No, it's okay. I'll smoke by myself. It's all good. Like, right? Like, I've never been the type to, I'm not gonna say I've never stood on a block in my life, but I've never been the type to make that my lifestyle. It's just not in me, because I don't see any fruits from that. Okay, yeah, sure, you can grab a couple dollars, serving a couple jugs or some shit like that, but what does that really give for you? Like, what does that really bring you? Nothing. It brings death. That shit is over. It's literally dead. So when it comes to analyzing and assessing your relationships with people, again, this is whether it's friendships, this is whether it's, you know, it's romantic relationships and it's your mate. However, you really got to look at what the energy exchange is in this relationship. Like, what is it really? How do you feel, let's say, on a mid to long-term basis in dealing with them? Does it empower you? Do you get new ideas? Do you get stronger? Do you get motivated, you know, want to work out and eat healthier, or, you know, get rid of certain habits that you shouldn't have, you know, vices, that sort of stuff? Like, what does it really do for you? Or do you just get some spikes of dopamine, and, you know, when things don't go their way and they end up trauma dumping on you, you just end up drained as shit for no reason, and it becomes a cycle of that? Which one is it? Because typically, from my experience in my 34 years of life, most relationships are one of those two, or they're non-existent. They may be associates or something like that. Business relationships, again, I don't consider that in the same category or class, even though some of the same dynamics and fundamentals apply, because it's still dealing with people. But you really want to analyze if the person that you're with or the person that you're around, if they're giving you energy and inspiration to continue doing the things that you feel that you're set here to do. And two, you have to look at if you're giving that to them, because you don't want to be the leech. You don't want to be the parasite in the relationship. You don't want to be the one that's draining them of their life force. No, you want to inspire them. You want to make them stronger. You want to make them better. You want to help them get closer to reaching and achieving their goals. And if you're not that, you really have to analyze whether or not this is the type of relationship that you need to be in. It might be better for them for you to let them go, right? And these are the things that you kind of have to consider, you know, genuinely. As it doesn't really matter what stage you're in, but especially as an adult, we don't really have time to play around, right? Like there's children out here that are looking to us for guidance. Maybe you have children, maybe you don't, but there's little people and little eyes on us watching how we handle certain circumstances, watching how we relate to others, and they're using this as a model to determine how they relate to others, right? So if nothing else, if not for yourself, then you got to do it for the next generation so they know how to build healthy relationships, real relationships. So I think that's enough for today. Very happy to have my iPhone back and not be using that shitty Android I was on. Soul Rising, double disc collaborative album featuring about 20 other very talented artists, brothers, sisters, singers, rappers, spoken word poets, all these kind of things. This album is now available in stores on every streaming platform. You can look me up, Samurai Black. You have to keep the $, so $ AMURAI Black, spelled just like how it is here. Well, actually, I don't think I have the $ on this channel, but at any rate, you can do that. You can hit the link in the description. Go to SamuraiBlackMusic.com, grab some vinyls, and grab some merch. We got tees, hoodies, gym bags like duffel bags. We have steel print paintings and vinyls, NFC tag keychains, all these kind of things on there. So feel free to check it out. You could also find all the streaming links on there. Take some time to reflect and look on your relationships and see what the dynamic is and what you need to do about it. Make sure you subscribe if you're still sticking around here. Peace in the Lamb is truly wonderful. Hadu Sashug, that means divine love. Wadu.